Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me here. I'm really excited to be here to talk to prospective students, especially because a lot of students aren't exactly sure what philosophy is all about. So between me and Saleha, who will be joining me here, hopefully we can give you a little bit of sense of what you would do in a philosophy program and why Carleton has such an attractive philosophy program. So we think about philosophy in certain ways as being the core of the humanities, right? Philosophy is about thinking about humanity, human beings, and how we engage with the world around us, how we learn about it, how we interact with it, the social, the natural world. And at the core of all that is critical thinking. So critically engaging with the world and pursuing truth in all of its forms. And so we have not so many majors, but we have a lot of students who take philosophy courses, whether as electives or as a minor in philosophy. And in particular, if you're thinking about taking a philosophy course, I would highly recommend one of our courses in critical thinking or in logic. But we actually have courses in a number of different areas, and at Carleton we have courses in political philosophy, in moral philosophy, we have experts in bioethics, we have a lot of philosophers who work on the mind, so we're strongly actually connected with the Department of Cognitive Science that you just heard about, and we have philosophers who work on the history of philosophy. We're not a very big department, there's about 11 of us, but we like to think that we're still mighty. We cover lots of different subjects, and we've got lots of really wonderful students who are very active, even in these days where we just have sort of Zoom or Microsoft Teams. Our students still find ways to interact with one another. So one of our students who I'm about to talk with, her name is Saleha. She's in her final semester. And I'll let her talk a little bit about what attracts her to philosophy, because my understanding is that she transferred into philosophy during her degree, which is how we get a number of our students. And so I'm really excited to hear her talk also about a research internship that she did for the Faculty of Arts and Social Sciences, which is a wonderful opportunity that FAST students have here at Carleton. So Saleha?
And Saleha, you just have to unmute there.
I'm sorry. I would, so to answer your question, the reason why I got attracted to philosophy was because I just found the world that we were living in a little partisan. And I always thought, like, what if I was born in a place where I was a child of a Trump supporter, or I was in a place where the thoughts that I have right now in terms of what is right and what is wrong, what if what I see as wrong right now is just because of the circumstances that I'm in? And I was like thinking about these questions a lot, and I thought I should probably read a little bit and figure out what other people have to say about it. And I remember picking up a book on Socrates, I guess Plato wrote about Socrates, and it was the Apology. And I remember reading the whole book and thinking, wow, I didn't understand any of that. And so I thought I should probably go and actually read about the people that are considered to be smart and actually study these things, so that I don't think that at the end of my life, I think that I regret that I didn't explore these questions further. And so that's why I went into philosophy. I wanted to search, as cliched as it might sound, it was in my search for truth that I went into the Department of Philosophy. And I am very satisfied with what I found at the Philosophy Department at Carleton.
I don't find that cliche at all. I think that's just really beautiful, actually, this sort of central search for truth as part of the human condition. And so we're really glad to have you as a student. Would you say a little bit more about Carleton specifically and what attracts you to Carleton?
I actually remember I applied. I was living in Alberta, and I was going to move to Ottawa because of my husband's work. And I remember applying to U Ottawa, and I remember applying to Carleton, and I couldn't decide. And so I actually came to the campus. I took an Uber from the hotel I was living at, and I just came to Carleton, and I fell in love with the campus. I remember seeing the canal and the water and the buildings and the quad, and I really liked the feeling, and it felt very intimate. And so I thought I think this is the place for me, and I just took the plunge, and I'm very happy with that.
Yeah, you can't see me on this screen right now, but I'm nodding along. I also, it's such a beautiful campus, and there's a real feeling of community that's created here. Can you say something about maybe what's made you proudest during your degree?
I remember I came across an ad for the FASS internship, the research internship that gives undergraduate students an opportunity to conduct research. And I remember I saw it on Friday and the deadline was on Monday. And in that moment, I thought, okay, I'm going to miss this. But then I was actually in the philosophy department. And if you ever get a chance to go to the building, when you're coming down from the building, you actually come across the dean's office. And so I just walked into the dean's office and I asked them for an extension. And they gave it to me. And I was very, very proud that I did that, because a lot of university is about just asking the right questions and about going, about actually just putting yourself out there. Because if I wouldn't have had that idea of just going in there and asking for an extension, I don't think I would have gotten it. So I went in there and I told them that I just saw this opportunity and I'm really interested in it. I'm really interested in research. And they said, sure, have another week. And I took it and I applied and I got it. And that I was actually more proud of going in and asking for an extension than actually winning the internship. And that's, I think, a lot of undergraduate is about that. Just if you find yourself in a bit of a pickle, just go, and there are so many good resources, and there are so many understanding people that will give you the opportunity that you're looking for. You just have to go out and ask.
Yeah, that ties in so nicely to what Kirsten was saying before about, reaching out to people during your degree and asking for help. And we're all here because we really do want to support you and help you out. But by the way, you should be extremely proud of yourself also for earning that FAST research fellowship, research internship, because you did wonderful work there. But if you want, maybe can you tell us also about your favorite course? But I'd like to hear also about the research you did for the research internship, if you would like to tell us. But if you prefer to just talk about your favorite course, then.
I remember I researched about the role that humor plays in satire in the context of how late night shows like Trevor Noah and Jon Stewart, how they make fun of Donald Trump, and about how the rhetoric is very similar to the rhetoric that Donald Trump actually uses in making fun of other people. Like, it's very same rhetorical devices if you looked at them closely. I used a little bit of Hegel in talking about how humor can be subjective. So if you are trying to talk about a certain idea, and if you insert humor into it, then the attention can sometimes be diverted from the actual idea, and people can start talking about the humorous part, about how it can be offensive or non-offensive, and you can just start going into a debate about how, well, they shouldn't have said it like this, they shouldn't have said it like that, and then it just kind of retracts away from the actual issue. Like, one of the examples I found was Stephen Colbert. He talked about there are these the Washington Redskins, which is a football team in the United States. And he tweeted something very, very vulgar and funny about it. He was basically tweeting about the fact that, I'm going to start this company that is a charity. And he used some defamatory, he used some offensive terms to represent some communities, racialized communities, that I'm going to start a charity that's called this, and it's going to help those people. And there's actually a lot of context behind this, but I'm a little worried that I'm going to go off on a really long tangent about my research. The Washington Redskins, the owner of the Washington Redskins, actually started a charity for Native Americans. And so Stephen Colbert was critiquing the charity that he started for them. And he said, I'm going to start a something charity. And the response to his critique was that, you shouldn't have said that racialized word, you shouldn't have talked about it. And basically, in history, we basically remember that Stephen Colbert made a bad joke. We don't really remember that there is this problem of racism within our communities that is exploited by companies like the Washington Redskins. But
that is just such a fascinating and timely topic. And I know I put you on the spot a little bit by asking you that, but I really appreciated that answer. So thank you.
This for hours.
Is there a course in particular that you've really enjoyed at Carleton?
One of the courses I really enjoyed was one of the courses I took with you, philosophy with children. It was because, a lot of philosophy can be very much, very abstract, and a lot of the readings for it can be very dense. And so it's very important to keep like the real world in mind. That's why I picked the topic for my research, and that's why I really enjoyed one of your courses, because with philosophy with children, you can take a lot of theory and you can apply it to real life. A lot of times you can really get lost in philosophy, but you can sometimes forget that a lot of these dense, interesting ideas are very, very applicable even today. A lot of Socrates, he was writing Plato, he was writing so long ago, is still very, very applicable today. And we just have to be plugged into the world, and we just need to pay attention to the ideas behind the philosophy in order to apply it in our world. And that's really what made me interested in philosophy with children, because we took theoretical ideas and we tried to apply them and see if children can pick up a philosophical idea. We actually went in an elementary school. We actually went into a classroom, and I remember reading a children's book to them, and a lot of what the responses for children were, when properly probed, were very Kantian. And I remember being very fascinated by the idea that if put in simple enough terms, everyone can do philosophy, and you just have to properly understand it and apply it.
Yeah, actually, if I can talk a little bit more about your work for that seminar, right? You went into this classroom, you read The Emperor Has No Clothes, and you really generated a fascinating discussion about the morality of lying and deception and the nature of authority and trust. And it was just a really beautiful moment of investigating, the kinds of questions that you were talking about earlier that brought you to philosophy to begin with. So I was so glad to have you in that class too. What are some of the skills that you've developed in a philosophy degree?
I think I learned to read. Like properly read. A lot of times when I would read a book, I would read it and I would think whatever presuppositions I would come to the book with, that's what I would leave with it. So I liked reading a lot of simple literature. Boy meets girl, they get married, they live happily ever after, the end. And whenever I tried to read something more complex, it would go over my head, so I would just avoid it. But I think this degree has helped me critically read better, and I'm very happy for that.
Yeah, reading is hard, right? I mean,
reading is hard.
Seems like it's easy. Seems like you learned how to do it back in grade 1 in kindergarten, but reading is really hard. So that's a skill that I'm always developing as well. Where do you hope your degree will take you? And can you say a bit about how you're preparing for your next steps?
When I initially came into this degree, I just thought, these are the goals I have. I want to be able to read this book, and this book, and I'll be done with it. But kind of left a little unsatisfied. I want to pursue it more. I did not think that I would see myself going into grad school, but that's where I'm hoping to go, because when I did research, I really enjoyed it and I would like to do more of it. There's so many more topics that I would like to go explore. And so I'm hoping to apply to grad school. I'm hoping to get in and then might go for a postgrad, and who knows, hopefully I'll go into a place where I can do a lot of research.
That's wonderful. I'm so glad to hear that, and I wish you the best of luck on your journey.
Thank you.